Queens, welcome to another episode of the Body Love Binge. This episode, as you is titled How to Overcome Fear. And notice that the title of this episode is indeed How to Overcome Fear, not how to avoid or escape fear. That's a really key part I wanted to say right off the bat. We cannot overcome fear without moving through it. Not around it, not underneath it. We have to go through it in order to overcome it. We have to face our fears if we want to let them go and live in freedom from said fear. Fear shows up in all sorts of ways and for various reasons. While this episode can be applied generally, I will be discussing fear specifically in the context of eating disorder recovery. So let's go, shall we? Fear isn't real. I'm sorry, what? Let me just say that again. Fear isn't real. Would you believe me if I said to you, fear isn't real? The definition of fear, reading word for word, actually existing as a thing or occurring in fact, not imagined or supposed. Now, yes, you can be 100% sure, which is a fact, that you feel fear, but fear is imaginary. Let me explain further. If the fear of, let's say, eating sugar was real, then everyone in the world would be afraid of it too. When something is real, it's real for everybody in the world at the same time. Like gravity, that's real, that's a truth. If the fear of gaining weight was real, then everyone else in the world would also be afraid of weight gain. And they're not. Granted, in this society, I would say that the majority of people, especially women, are sadly afraid of gaining weight, but not all of them. I am not afraid of gaining weight, and yet weight gain was my biggest ultimate fear from the age of 9 until the age of around 32 years old. I have overcome my biggest fear, even as society was mirroring back to me that I should be afraid of it, weight gain. So your fears around taking recovery actions are imaginary. Now, I'm not here to piss you off. If I am pissing you off, I kind of do apologize for that, but you're still here, so hear me out. I'm not here to piss you off and tell you that what you are feeling, very strongly, what you are feeling is not valid, because it absolutely is very fucking valid. I want to make that very clear. And I also understand how you feel as well. But I am here to help you see that because fear is imagined, you have the power to unimagine it and become free. Beyond fear lies freedom, and fear can't hurt you, but the eating disorder can. And here's the thing about fear. The more you run away from it and try to avoid it, the bigger and stronger it gets. So by trying to avoid by avoiding facing your fears, by trying to avoid the fear, you're actually feeding the fears and making them stronger, which is literally the opposite of what you want, right? Harry Potter fans, where are you at? Right, there's a spell, and I can't think to the life of me what this spell is called, that creates a fake vision in front of you of what you are most afraid of. So if you're afraid of spiders, it will create a huge, scary ass looking spider out to get you. If you're afraid of your mother-in-law, it will create her coming to get you. In order to make the spell go away, you have to face your fear with courage, not run from it. When you face your fear with courage, the scary vision turns into something funny. It turns comical. The spider has roller skates, for example, and falls over its own legs. The mother-in-law turns naked and is sat on the toilet. You get the gist. When you see the fear for what it really is, an imaginary made-up concept that you created via your behaviors over time due to watching others also be afraid of the same thing, or by creating your own rules to follow in an attempt to help yourself feel safe. So when you see that the fear is made up and created by you, it's easier to move through the fear. Because when we don't have awareness of what the fear actually is and where it's come from, it can completely consume us. We feel powerless to the fear. We say things like, I can't. And we truly believe we can't because we're paralyzed by fear. You can. You always can. When we do have the awareness and when we know where and why the fear was created, it's beneficial to us because then it gives us the clarity and the courage to move through it. So let me give you an example. My biggest fear was gaining weight. And so for 20 years, I'd behave and think in a way that created and then reinforced this fear. I'd skip meals, count calories, over-exercise, have weird food rules. You know the score. In an attempt to lose weight or not gain weight. If anyone were to watch me, fly on the wall kind of thing, they'd be able to see clear as day that I was afraid of weight gain or food, depending on how deep they understood this, via my behaviors. They wouldn't need to get into my head to see that I was afraid of weight gain. So here's the thing, you train yourself via your behaviors. You know what else was watching my behaviors? My brain. I had trained my brain to be afraid of weight gain. When your brain is conditioned to be afraid of something, it takes that conditioning very seriously. It will do everything in its power. And let's face it, your brain has a lot of power and influence over you. It will do everything in its power to stop you from doing anything that goes against your fear. So if you're afraid of weight gain and you go to eat a jar of peanut butter, or at least eat out of the jar and not weighed meticulously, that's the word I was looking for, your brain will scream at you not to eat that peanut butter from the jar. It will send you emotions of fear, guilt, panic, shame, all the things, which I'm sure you're very aware of. To support its case, you have showed your brain that weight gain is dangerous via your behaviors over time. Your brain believes you. It believes that food and weight gain is dangerous because otherwise, why would you be acting afraid of food and weight gain if it wasn't dangerous? Right? And so when you do the deeper work to uncover the fear beneath the fear, is when you know why you're afraid of weight gain. The ultimate fear beneath any fear that any of us have about anything is the fear of not being able to handle it. So let's stick with the fear of weight gain as an example. For me, weight gain meant looking unattractive. To me, looking unattractive meant the end of the world. Why? Because then I wouldn't be admired and praised and lusted after and validated. If I didn't have those things, then what would that mean? It would mean that I had no power. I wouldn't be taken seriously. I wouldn't be wanted. I wouldn't be loved. I wouldn't be safe. I would die if I wasn't safe. So my fear of weight gain was actually a fear of not being safe, wanted, and loved. When this fear was created, I was a child. Not feeling safe, wanted, or loved as a child is a matter of life or death. That's why I acted like it was. It felt like it was. And the more I acted like I was afraid of weight gain in all the ways, the more my brain was wired to be afraid of weight gain. As a child, I felt powerless. And so thinness and beauty was the quote unquote antidote to that powerlessness. Having power felt safe. As a child, I genuinely couldn't handle feeling powerless, hence why the coping behaviors were created over time. As an adult, I can handle the fear of the feeling of powerlessness because now I know the truth. I'm going to share this truth with you, and this refers to you as well, even though I know you won't think it does. I am enough exactly as I am. I am loved. I am safe. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to be lusted after by most people. It's okay because all I was seeking was love. I can see that now. And love is all around me if I allow myself to see it and then to receive it. I don't need to be perfect in order to be loved. I found this truth out by reparenting myself, giving and receiving compassion from me and to myself. It took work. It took tears, it took heartbreak and grief and anger and rage and all the things. But I kept showing up for myself. I kept pushing through. I kept facing my food fears and my fear of weight gain. Why? Because I wanted freedom so badly, I was willing to do whatever it fucking took to get there. I was afraid every day anyway. Even if I was trying to avoid my fears, I was still afraid. So why not be afraid yet become less afraid over time by facing my fears? And you can handle any emotion that wants to be felt. How do I know that? Because you're here right now listening to this and something has led you here. You are no longer a child. You have the ability now to reparent yourself. You are looking for a way out of your current situation, and here it is. You are seeking another way. And let me tell you, what you are seeking is also seeking you. You have absolutely everything you need within you to overcome all of your fears. I know this for a fact. The courage and compassion you need, it's already within you. Allow it to come out. Give it to yourself. You are the source of what you seek. Be a parent to little you, to your inner child. Show her the truth via your actions. Remember, you train your brain via your behaviors, and so you can retrain your brain not to be afraid of weight gain by acting like someone who is not afraid of it with consistency, repetition, and a shitload of courage and compassion. I want to touch on danger versus fear because I think it's really helpful to see why fear is even a human thing that we experience. If you are being chased by a bear, then you are in danger. You would go into an automated fear response, which would motivate you to run the hell away or hide or whatever it was you would need to do to protect yourself from potential death. If you didn't feel fear, you wouldn't most likely die. Doesn't really work for survival. The human race might not even be here if we didn't have the ability to feel fear in the sense of danger. The thing is, because of how you react to, let's say, weight gain over time, with consistency, your brain and nervous system thinks you are in danger, and so it will act accordingly. The truth is, you're not in danger. If you gain weight or eat sugar, you are not in danger. Unless you're literally severely allergic to sugar, then you might be in danger. Adipose tissue, which is fat on the body or sugar, has not killed anybody, as far as I know. And before you come at me with a bunch of statistics about obesity being the death of this generation, it's not the actual fat tissue, it's the health problems that have been created due to a number of different reasons, not the actual fat. Read Health at Every Size to get you started with what I'm saying here if this is completely new to you and you have a load of objections about this. That's another podcast altogether. So danger versus fear. You are not in danger if you gain weight. You are not in danger if you feel like you're losing control, in the concept of how fear is created for you in eating disorder recovery. Okay. You are also not your brain. You've heard me say this many times, and I say this for a reason. You are not your brain. You are not your nervous system. You have a brain and you have a nervous system. You have a nervous system which is intertwined with the brain and how you experience life through your thoughts, feelings, reactions to things, all those kinds of things. But both of these things, the brain and the nervous system, have been conditioned and wired by you. Primarily from when you were first conceived until the age. When you were in your mother's womb, you were influenced by how she felt. So, if your mother was anxious a lot of the time, then because you were preparing to survive in the same world where your mother lives, your nervous system would be created to also be on high alert. You'd have a heightened nervous system in preparation for the deemed unsafe world that your mother's currently living in. And any mothers out there who were anxious throughout their pregnancy, none of this is your fault either. It's just helpful to understand that it's not up to us from such a young age, from conception. Well, good luck having control over that when you're literally growing into a human. From the age of when you were born up until the age of 7, you were conditioned in every way imaginable by your parents, your caregivers, and by society. You are literally a product of your upbringing and your environment. You cannot avoid that. Nobody can. You can, however, change whatever you don't like in your current life experience. If you don't like feeling afraid of weight gain, you can change that. If you don't like feeling the need to always be doing something and not being able to relax and sit the fuck down and just chill, that was me, you can change that too. If you don't like being a control freak, that was me too. You can change that. It just takes effort, consistency, commitment, compassion, and healing. And that's what my coaching is all about. You don't have to be repeating the same patterns that your parents had. You don't have to keep living this way if it's not serving you anymore. So, what do you want? And are you willing to get what you want? There's a difference between wanting and being willing. Let me give you a real life example that is exactly what is happening for me right now. I want to be able to speak Dutch so I can actually understand what the hell people are saying to me when they don't speak English. However, I am not willing to put in the effort, all the effort that it would take to learn it. I've put some effort in, I've learned a little bit, but it's hard. I don't get it very well, and I'm not doing it consistently enough to see any benefits, and I'm not practicing in between either. So even though I want to speak Dutch, I'm not willing to do what it takes in order for me to actually learn it so then I can speak it. And so I don't want it badly enough. Otherwise, I'll do it, right? And that's okay. I take full responsibility for that. And instead of me bullshitting myself and other people when they ask me, like, how's my Dutch going and whatever, I don't say anymore, I don't have the time, or it's really challenging. I don't say that bullshit anymore. I say, I'm not willing to do the work necessary to learn it. So it would be nice if I could speak Dutch, but honestly, I'm taking full responsibility. I'm not willing to do all that work that I need to do to be able to speak this language. It's not important enough to me. And you can have whatever feelings and thoughts you want about that. You can judge me. That's on you, right? I did, however, want full food freedom and self-love more than anything in the world. And that's why I got it. My mantra was whatever it fucking takes to get this freedom and self-love thing. And I did whatever it took. Was I scared? Yes, I was petrified. Was it easy? Fuck no. Did I know how? Nope. But I got support and I learned how one day at a time and took the action one day at a time. I faced my fears head on and did the deeper work underneath, so I was no longer afraid. I found freedom on the other side of each fear. It became a no-brainer, honestly, to face whatever fear I had, because that's how I overcame the fear. That was the equation to freedom. Face your fears, find freedom. Face your fears, find freedom. Consistently, that was the equation to overcome your fears. Freedom doesn't come for free, though. I'm just going to repeat that. Freedom is not free. It comes at a cost. You know what the cost was for me? I had to give up control. I had to give up my sense of safety. I had to give up the sense of doing it right, of succeeding. I had to give up the need to be attractive and validated externally everywhere I went. I had to let all of that go and mourn the loss of that. And that was so painful, let me tell you. But in exchange, I got freedom, and it's worth it a million times over. I really mean that. It is worth it a million times over. So, the last part of this episode is how to actually overcome fear. I could have answered this question outright right at the beginning of the episode, but you needed that context before I answered it outright because it's very simple, but not easy to do. And you've most likely gathered the answer during this episode, but I'll give it to you in black and white. The answer to the question, how to overcome fear, is you overcome fear by facing and then walking into the fear over and over again as you're doing the inner work to heal the wounding that created the fear in the first place. I'll repeat that. You overcome fear by facing and then walking into it over and over again as you're doing the inner work to heal the wounding that created the fear in the first place. This looks like if you're afraid of Nutella, eat jars of it. That was me. If you're afraid of weight gain, act like you're not. Wear nice clothes that fit the body you have now. Eat what you want. Stop putting things off until you've lost the weight. Go after the life you want in the body you have now. Create it for yourself now and show yourself via your behaviors that there is nothing to be feared. And remember the 3 C's: consistency, commitment, and compassion. You have absolutely got this. You have everything you need within you. And remember, fear cannot hurt you. The eating disorder can. Faith and fear are both invisible. They're both not real. So you may as well choose faith, right? If you're going to choose one or the other, because everything is indeed a choice. If you would like help on this journey, we can overcome your fears together. I can hold your hand, show you the way. You have to face it, right? I can't face it for you, but I can be with you by your side as you face your biggest fears and do the deeper work to understand why your behaviors that created the fear were created in the first place. All right, my queens. So enjoy the rest of your morning, day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Sending you all the love. Any questions, any episode requests, let me know, and I'll see you on the next episode. Much love. Bye-bye.